J.D. Vance couldn't take down Greenland, but the Pope is a different story. This is just another day. Normally, the role of vice president is a notoriously thankless position. Your very existence is based on balancing a campaign ticket, and once in office, you don't have much power outside of doing your boss's bidding. The underlying principle has always been the president is going to make enough mistakes on their own, you don't need to make things worse. Well, oops.
This Easter Sunday, Vice President J.D. Vance briefly met with Pope Francis. This comes on the heels of the Pope's recent criticism over the Trump administration's treatment of migrants.
Welcome back. On this Monday morning, we continue to follow breaking news that came out overnight from Vatican City. Vatican officials confirming Pope Francis has died.
I rarely say this literally, but holy shit. So Joyous Death Vance spends one afternoon with the Pope, and the Pope loses his will to live. Apparently disagreeing with Trump's immigration policies is now cause for permanent dismissal. It's obviously a sad day for Catholics everywhere, which is why elected officials from around the world have been expressing their condolences to all who are mourning. And that includes Marjorie Taylor Greene, who wrote, "Today there were major shifts in global leadership. Evil is being defeated by the hand of God." That's right, Marjorie is a righteous one who knows the word of God. For, as it says in Corinthians 13:6, love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in blatant insider trading. Now, with Pope Francis's passing, that means it's time for a new generation of leadership at the Vatican. It's time to pass the torch and usher in a new era. And you know what that means. A bridge pope, maybe. What could go wrong? Of course, many people might see Pope Francis's passing as being due to his old age and his poor health, but I think Vance's speech from this summer's RNC tells an entirely different story.
Now, I was lucky. Despite the closing factories and the growing addiction in towns like mine, in my life, I had a guardian angel by my side. She was an old woman who could barely walk, but she was tough as nails. I called her Mamaw, the name we hillbillies gave to our grandmothers. Now, she once told me, when she found out that I was spending too much time with a local kid who was known for dealing drugs, that if I ever hung out with that kid again, she would run him over with her car. That's true. And she said, "JD, no one will ever find out about it."
I'm just saying, when your mama tells you that you can get away with murder and no one will find out, you start to get ideas. And look, we've had our fun here, taking digs at J.D. Vance, but on a serious note, I think it's a pretty ridiculous idea that everything Vance touches actually crumbles in his hands, am I right? Has anyone checked on the Prime Minister of India?
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is in India, where he's been meeting with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
For Modi's sake, I just hope he's not JD's next victim. Honestly, if Trump really wants to punish migrants, don't send him all the way to El Salvador. Just put him in a room with JD. At least back here at home, things were a little less deadly.
A sea of red, as I've been saying all morning. The Dow now off 944 points. That's about 2.5%. That's about how much it lost last week, and today it's already doubled that amount. The S&P down 2.5%, and the Nasdaq down 2.8%. So in other words, it's a sell-off.
I think we're jumping into recession. Job finding rates have collapsed. Quits rates are collapsing. I mean, this is it's not a good situation.
No! Who let JD near the stock market? But as Benny Johnson said, money is just digital ones and zeros. What really matters is that this administration is keeping us safe, that the era of reckless, dangerous Democratic leadership is over.
Multiple sources tell CNN Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth revealed attack plans for airstrikes on Houthi rebels in Yemen in another Signal chat. This one included his wife, brother, and personal attorney.
Okay, you know what? At first, I was upset about the security breach, but now I'm mostly just feeling left out. So, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz starts a Signal chat and accidentally adds a journalist, but Pete Hegseth decided he was not to be outdone.
This new Signal group that we are just learning about this evening included some members of Pete Hegseth's inner circle who are, it's not clear what reason they would have to have this information about the strikes that the U.S. was planning to carry out. It included his brother, and his personal attorney, they both work at the Pentagon. It's not clear whether they have security clearances. It also included his wife, Jennifer, who has accompanied him previously in meetings with other foreign officials, which has raised some eyebrows among certain officials at the Pentagon.
Look, I think we all get it. You know how it is when you've got multiple group chats going on at once, and it's just easier to combine them all so you don't have to keep typing the same highly classified plans over and over and over again. At this point, I'm surprised Pete didn't just send the Houthi rebels a paperless post invite. By the way, all of this is taking place as just a few days earlier, Hegseth fired people for leaking information.
Back here now to the Pentagon's sweeping leak investigation. Multiple top aides to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth suspended in just the last 24 hours.
Hegseth has said from the beginning he will not tolerate leaks.
Damn right. If someone's going to be doing the leaking around here, it's him. So the news of Hegseth's Signal chat broke Sunday morning, and just as he was prepared to roll eggs on the White House lawn, he wasn't afraid to make a few heads in the media roll, too.
So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because, you know, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. Hoaxsters. This group, no, this group right here, full of hoaxsters.
I'm gonna be honest, nothing says meltdown like Hegseth going back to, what, the aughts for his insults? Hoaxsters? Bunch of hoaxsters! Scallywags, the bunch of you! Scoundrels and white-livered Sikh sorrows, cow-handed gassers and mollycoddles, the lot of you! Rattlecap ninny-hammers. I have more. Milksops and go-alongs? Spoony little word grubbers? And by the way, what is it with people from this administration using their children as human shields to safeguard them from incoming questions? Like, thank God these tough alphas have 7-year-old boys to keep them protected. If Pete seems especially riled up, though, it's because a few of those recently fired Pentagon employees released statements about what their experience has been like these last few months.
Hegseth's former top spokesperson, John Olliott, wrote a scathing op-ed for Politico saying that the Pentagon under Hegseth is in, quote, total chaos. He wrote this op-ed just last night, and he said, quote, it's been a month of total chaos at the Pentagon, from leaks of sensitive operational plans to mass firings. The dysfunction is now a major distraction for the president.
Honestly, I think a distraction is all Trump wants at this point. Between his tanking stock market and an imminent self-imposed recession, he'll take all the help he can get. If Trump isn't begging Pete Hegseth for more Signal chat scandals, it is basically political malpractice at this point. But Pete wasn't done with the media just yet.
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. And on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me.
Yep. Not going to work with him. And this is where I actually agree with the Secretary of Defense. It is appalling when members of the media try and slash and burn patriotic Americans simply for mishandling some classified information. Right, Mr. Hegseth?
If the top man in the job was handled classified documents this flippantly for that long, why was that the case? Was it really that he didn't know? Because when you take something out of a skiff, if you're a senator, you know exactly what you're doing.
Any security professional, military, government, or otherwise, would be fired on the spot for this type of conduct and criminally prosecuted for being so reckless with this kind of information. The fact that she wouldn't be held accountable for this, I think, blows the mind of anyone who's held our nation's secrets dear, who's had a top secret clearance like I have and others, who know that even one hiccup causes a problem.
Oh no! First the Pope is dead and now hypocrisy. Why? So the man who was widely criticized as unqualified has shown himself to be just that. Seriously, this is the guy that we're keeping around? Apparently to be the Secretary of Defense, the person in charge of a proposed $1 trillion budget and the largest military in the world. All you need to be is a white guy with a nice head of hair and some broadcasting experience. I'm coming for you, Pete. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.